Axel Mundi Press brings you Greg, reading from his 2015 book, A Man Called Oval.
You can call me Effie. Our first day on the road was a day of exhilaration. We had decided we would be in no hurry about getting to Houston, Kansas, mainly because we had no idea what we were going to do when we got there. That is why we headed north. We intended to drive a long and winding road towards our future and wait for it to meet us somewhere along the way. It did. It was Sunday, July 25, 1976. Having had a great breakfast with plenty of coffee at our favorite coffee shop, the Village Inn, and having filled our thermoses with more coffee, we set Ralph to cruise mode, as it were, and set our sights on Idaho. We smoked several bowls of the marijuana that the folks had given us, and were feeling fine. After we had gotten clear of the Salt Lake-Ogden corridor, and the freeway had settled down to a peaceful 4-lane highway, I asked Oval how he planned to develop Gollyism from the 3 quotes he had showed me on his legal pad into something that he could preach about and, I hoped, make money from. Gall was his given name, began Oval, taking on the tone of a preacher, as he steered the bus along the highway, heading north on I-15 toward Idaho. He didn't become Golly until after his meeting with the great man in the desert. The great man, I asked? Was that someone like Ralph the Giant from that story? No, the great man was Gall's version of God. He actually didn't believe in God, but he had to have some way to relate the experience of conversion in the desert to his fellow Nazarethans when he came back. I don't know what you call people from Nazareth. You should look it up, I said. So the great man did a van conversion for Gall in the desert? Oval looked at me and broke into laughter. Come on, work with me here. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, I said. You're going to be asked these questions if you tell this story to the world. Okay. Gall went into the desert looking for answers to life's nagging questions. He may have been affected by the heat. I don't know. But anyway, he heard a voice telling him things, and so instead of calling it God, he called it the great man. Not the great woman? He couldn't have called it the great woman? No. All right, look, I'm sorry, dear, but Gall was not a feminist. He was just a regular Jewish guy, and he was only about 16 at the time. And it's okay, dear, I said. I'm just giving you a hard time. Oval stared at the road for a minute or so, quietly. I understood then that what he was doing was very important to his plan. He was starting to formulate a legend, a myth about this prophet Gall, of whom we only knew from 3 short footnotes. I sat quietly for a while, looking at the scenery we were driving past. We were in the mountains, approaching the town of Logan. After a few minutes, I said, Is there any more you can tell me about Gall right now? Oval responded immediately, as if his mind had been working steadily as he drove. His family were poor folk who lived off the land. In fact, they lived completely off the land on the Sea of Galilee, on a beat-up old houseboat which they tied up at the low-rent dock. From there, Gall's father would take a small rowboat out into the water and cast his line. I think you are casting a line, I said, laughing. What is this Sea of Galilee? I thought it was Galilee. No, that is a long-standing error, Oval said. It's Galilee, and it wasn't really a sea anyway. It was a lake. But lake was not popular with biblical writers. Sea was the way to go. Gall was named Gall by his parents, obviously, and because of the fact that he was born near the shores of the Sea of Galilee. If it was the Sea of Galilee, he would have been named Gal. I see, I said, as I poured a cup of coffee from one of the thermoses. Tell me more. I need another hit. I lit the pipe and gave it to him. I don't know if Gall would approve of his minister smoking dope, I said. Such things were unknown to those people at that time. If Gall had been asked the question, do you approve of your minister smoking dope, he would have said, I doubt it. He doubts that he approved? No, he doubts that his minister was smoking dope. Ah, very good. We stopped for lunch in Logan, which is the last major town before leaving Utah and entering Idaho. We were not hurrying. We didn't care to go very far this first day. When we pulled out from the cafe, there was a young hippie hitchhiking on the ramp to the highway. He had a backpack lying on the dirt beside him. His face was obscured by a wide-brimmed floppy hat. We should pick him up, I said. We had left room in the back of the van for one other person on the seat behind the side door in case one of us needed to change clothes or something in the middle of wherever. Sure, said Oval. He pulled onto the shoulder of the on-ramp. The young man picked up his pack and trotted forward to where I had rolled down the window. Hi, he said. Hi to you, I responded. Where are you headed? We both said to each other at the same time. We laughed. I'm just going anywhere, he said. Well, we're going in that general direction, I said. I noticed then that he looked to be about 16. We can get you a little way towards there. Thanks, he said enthusiastically. He pulled open the side door of the van and lifted his pack ahead of him as he climbed in, sat down on the narrow seat, and then closed the door. Ralph rumbled back onto the pavement, and we entered the highway at the typical 30 miles per hour, which the bus could muster by the end of most on-ramps. At only about 50 horsepower and loaded with all our possessions, Ralph took a while to get up to speed. I turned around and looked back at our hitchhiker. I'm Effie, I said. Oval, added Oval, looking in the rearview mirror. I'm Gal, said the young man. Gal, I repeated as a way of remembering the name. It's short for Galvin, he said. That's interesting, I said, glancing at Oval. We were just talking earlier about the name Gal. Oh, yeah? Cool. There were a few moments of silence. Why were you talking about the name? We were discussing the Sea of Galilee, Oval said, and whether the correct name was Galilee. It had to do with someone named Gall. Far out, said Gal. He turned his head to the window for a little while and appeared to be studying the landscape passing by.
Join us every Monday through Friday for a new episode with Greg reading from A Man Called Oval. And remember, if you miss a day, you will find every episode stored in the playlist titled A Man Called Oval. A.J.K. Waterbottomley speaking.